Hey everybody, today we're going to talk about hard money, or what some people call private lending, and we're going to explain how you use it, why you use it, and how it works. So, hard money. First of all, what is it? So hard money or private lending is when you go and work with a non-conventional lender, typically either a private individual who's decided to put cash in the market to earn interest and lend to private parties on their own. It may be a company that has come together and put a large sum of money in a bucket and decided that they're going to do lending on an individual basis as well. A couple of key things that you need to be aware of when working with hard money is, number one, this is not a consumer loan. So, can't be used in a scenario where you're buying a personal residence in a normal environment. So, what does that mean? That means that let me give you an example. I'll use myself as an example. When I was flipping houses back in the day, I used a hard money lender on most of our transactions because we didn't have enough cash in hand to be able to write a check for $150,000 to purchase a house at auction. So when you go to an auction situation where foreclosures are happening, you have to have cash in hand when you purchase the home. And so we would bring a down payment in cash, or I guess I should say in a certified check, and in multiple denominations, and we would show up in front of the courthouse with that cash in hand. Our hard money lender would show up as well with maybe $1 million in certified checks in varying sizes in order to be able to help purchase homes for several different lenders. So that's how that works in the real world. You may also use it for, and this is where I'm seeing some creativity right now in the marketplace, the ability to be able to come in and be more competitive in purchasing homes right now, where it's pretty common in our current marketplace here in Billings, Montana, that if we put a house on the market and we price it appropriately, we're likely going to have 2 to 3 cash offers. And maybe you're not a cash buyer. Maybe you need somebody to help you become a cash buyer and then turn around immediately and refi out of that property into a normal lending situation, which is what I used to do when I was flipping houses. We would go to the auction, we would use a hard money lender to help us be able to purchase for cash, and then immediately upon closing on that transaction that afternoon, we would go to the credit union with our new piece of property that we owned that we typically had purchased for substantially below market value. We usually wanted to have a $100,000 margin in our property, and we would go to a normal consumer lender at that point and say, we have this property, it's worth this much when we're done fixing it up, and we need to get out of our hard money lender, pay them off, and just go to a regular consumer loan. So that's what hard money is, kind of how it works in a general rule, and there are a lot of different creative ways you can come up with to use it. Let your mind run and come up with ideas that may work for you. Now, what does it look like when it comes down to cost of hard money? So this is where people have to look at the numbers and make sure they're going to work for you. So you're going to have several different scenarios that you need to be aware of. First of all, you're going to have the cost of getting into a loan with a hard money lender. And this can vary anywhere from 3 to 5%. I've even seen it as high as 8%. But let's just say 4%. Let's say you're purchasing a property that costs $200,000. At 4%, you're going to have an out-of-pocket expense at the front end of $8,000 to get into the property. All right? That's, depending on the lender, maybe something that you pay right up front, It may be something that they build into the loan and that you pay at the back end of the loan when you cash out of the property, or I should say out of the loan. There's a lot of different ways that might play out depending on how it's structured. You're also going to need to be able to bring a down payment. And so, again, it's going to depend on the lender what that down payment's going to look like, but it's going to be somewhere between generally speaking, between 10 and 20%. So in the case of this $200,000 property, let's say it was 15%, we'll go right in the middle. You're looking at needing to have $30,000 in cash available for your down payment, which basically says, let's use the auction scenario again as an example. We're going to show up with enough cash to be able to cover our down payment at auction, and then the hard money lender is going to bring the balance. So on that $200,000 property, we're going to put $30,000 down. They're going to bring $170,000 to the table that day and take care of the balance. We're going to owe them a cost of being able to have access to the hard money, and then in addition to that, we're going to have an interest. Depending on the lender, we're going to have an interest rate of, my experience has been 1%. I've seen a couple guys here locally that charge a little less here, but charge dramatically more here. So bottom line, it's going to be different based on each individual outfit that you're dealing with, but we're going to use 1%. 1% of that $200,000 means that you're going to have a monthly interest only payment of $2,000 a month. Now, most hard money lenders, in my experience, don't want to be tied up in a loan for the next 30 years. They're interested in loaning this money and turning it over quickly because they're making quick turn money here. They're making 1% interest here. They want to put this money back in the marketplace as quickly as possible. So typically, this type of a loan is going to be a 90-day situation. Now, in my experience, if I was going to go past the 90-day scenario, normally what would happen is this number would change. So for the first 90 days, it's 1%. If I go to day 91, all of a sudden this is going to go to 1.5% from that point forward, right? So a motivation to get you out of this loan quickly. So again, like I was saying at the very beginning, what we would normally do, we would use this to be able to get into a property. Let's say we were buying that property for $200,000, knowing that it was worth, $300,000 and $350,000 once we fixed it up. We walk into that property at $200,000. We're buying it below market value. We're able to go immediately to our personal lender, whether that's a state bank, federal bank, or credit union. We're refinancing out of this scenario, paying off our hard money lender. In my case, we normally did that in 30 days. We had a lender that we worked with consistently, and we were able to walk in literally the day that we purchased the property, fill out the paperwork, and usually, and this is back in the day, we usually were able to get out of that loan in about 30 days. Right now, that's probably going to take you closer to 45 just because of the time frames for appraisal and all those kind of things. So that's really how hard money works. What you have to do is then build a model, put all these costs into it so that you can make sure that however you're buying your flip house, your long-term rental, whatever it might be that you're trying to accomplish, that all these numbers are going to work in the end and you're going to be able to make a profit. So this is just a creative way to be able to buy property that gives you a competitive edge in the marketplace, and again, can be used a lot of different ways depending on what you're trying to accomplish. So if you have questions about this, write them in the comments below. We'd love to answer any questions that you have. You can also email us at Shawn Johnston, SHAWN, Johnston @kw.com. or you can call us. So again, this is Sean with the Johnson Property Group, where we bring real estate to real life. Hope you found that really interesting.